Happy Thursday, everybody. It is July 6, 2023, and a shortened trading week at precisealgorithmtrading.com. And today was a rough day on the markets. The Dow was down 366 points at the end of the day, or 1%. The NASDAQ was down 0.82%, not the end of the world. And the S&P was down 0.79%. So I don't know what the Russell was there. Let's look down here. Do we see the IWM anywhere? Yeah, it was down 1.61%. So the Russell fared the worst. The transports were only down 0.81%, so that's interesting. And let's flip through it real quick. So it's really, we've been up here in nosebleeds section area anyway, so this is not really a shock. So we are still green, green, red, and green, and green, 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 and green. And we've gone a long way on the weekly over here. I'm going to point this out to you here. Green all that way, which is all the way back here. So, and by the way, this little red block that's forming up here, that formed over here, that's kind of like mathematical support and resistance. So this is a big support zone down here. That's a long way to go. This is a little resistance zone up here. This moving average right here, we could expect this to come up and pull back at into that zone one of these days. Could be happening now. And you can actually see we got to this purple line over here, moving average, same moving average, just on this is the daily and this is the weekly. So, and for what it's worth, this, I think I got this right. Yeah, the blue line down here is the weekly up there, and then the blue line here is its own thing, which is arguably the month, but not exactly right. So, close enough. All right, escape out of here, go to the Russell, just because that's what I clicked, and we've got some things starting to shake up in the Russell. This looks like a rough day. Well, it was, and you can also see, check this out. I think this is pretty cool. Look at I'm going to highlight it there. This is the standard deviation study that I built, and this yellow line right here is one standard deviation. This is 1.5. That's a light blue line, and then the dotted line right there is 2 standard deviations. So check out how the price came down and pulled all the way back up and sitting on that 1 standard deviation line. I just think that's remarkable how price works like that sometimes. Now that's not to say we can't come down in this zone and then reverse, or come down in this zone, come up, put in a lower high, and then start a bigger downtrend that would do something like that. If that did that, that would look like a bull flag pattern to me. Um, but we're still bullish, 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 and bullish on the weekly here. So even though, I mean, this is the kind of noise that makes people get shook up, and it makes for rough days in the market, but it's the kind of noise that it's intended to get people washed out, so then it can go back up again. At least that's my take on how the markets work. We got this is the Nasdaq. We got some noise. We got some bearishness. We got some stuff coming in. We've been way stretched to the upside here, so a pullback here is actually sort of welcome. As weird as that is to say, the oil pulled back today, but it's still just getting started potentially, and on all the time frames and all the indicators. Actually thinking about cutting off this bottom indicator. I really don't think it's going to bring me much more than the middle one here does, and I think it adds some confusion. So just letting you know, I've been toying with it, but I'm not sure it's really getting me anything that I already didn't have. And constantly I'm looking at that type of thing to try to see if I can't get a better edge. Alright, let's look at the transports just because it was on fire and it is still on fire. And you can see it actually came up. I painted this zone up here, the gray zones on the right hand chart here, or actually the left too. Those are hand painted. I put those in for support and resistance. And so you can see literally, like, I mean, we got bigger resistance and probably mathematical resistance and support showing up here, but we've got this whole zone in the middle that should act as support and resistance until we blow through it one way or the other. And let's look at bonds. We looked at this yesterday. I got out of this yesterday. I'm glad I did. It just powered lower. So, and you could say, hey, why didn't you just go short and maybe buy a put? Well, you could, but you know, I'm generally, I have a long bias just because that's the way the markets tend to go. As soon as you start thinking you're going to be able to go bearish, unless you have a lot of bearish signals all lining up, then it'll rip your face off. All right, and then flipping over to the internals, bullish. The industrials went down by 4.55%. The NYA down by 2.16%. The transports didn't move. The NASDAQ down by 2.22%. The SPX, which by the way, I think yesterday tacked on a new X, and that was where I got stopped because my charts weren't working yesterday. The OEX down by 3.08%. And the NDX, this one actually I may have tacked on a new X yesterday too. So this one's down by 4.48%. So we'll have to wait and see. You know, this thing still looks like it's got some legs to the potentially to the upside to me, but we might need to get some, you know, a pullback before we can really take off, and that makes a ton of sense in the scheme of things. So, and then all our automatic trading systems, they fared better today, but there's nothing to write home about. This one popped up a little bit. And this is the Dow, and I am doing some back testing farther into the back data now, just to see if I can't, like I say, build a little bit better edge. I think this is generally pretty good. But what I like to do here is look at this and see if I can't get it to trade less and have the same amount of gains or better, because that's a lot of trades inside of a year. This is the Russell. It popped up a little bit today, a little dinky trade right there, and I'll take it. It doesn't look terrible on the scheme of things. This is what I'm talking about. This is a lot fewer trades than the Dow trades, and so therefore you're paying less in commissions and everything else. This is the NASDAQ, which we pulled up a little bit today after a little bit of a pullback yesterday. We've had a pretty rough time here in the last couple weeks, and it's still looking just fine on a longer term basis. So that's what I got for you guys tonight, and we will talk to you for the weekend review hopefully tomorrow night. If not, it'll be over the weekend. Take care, guys. Good trading and have a great night.